Okaeri, welcome back to my channel, May Between the Pages. My name is Taylor, and today we're going to be doing my June TBR. Now, I've really struggled with monthly TBRs so far this year. I haven't been able to kind of stick to that schedule at all, but I'm giving this one last try for the first half of the year and seeing how I do with the month of June. I really enjoyed making this TBR, so if this seems to slot into my life well, this style, then I'll continue going with monthly TBRs. If not, you'll probably be seeing more of those kind of recent reads style videos that I've been putting up every 2 to 3 months. But again, I'd like to try one more monthly TBR because the planner in me just loves the concept of this. I love knowing that I'm going to put out a TBR and a wrap up every month. It just feels good to me. So let's see how we do. The first book is Of Darkness and Light, the second full installment in the Bound and the Broken series. I'm reading it on my Kindle, which I of course conveniently forgot to bring over here. So that's an ebook format, and I am currently doing a buddy read with Shelly over on Shell Space, who is a wonderful human, by the way. If you haven't subscribed to her, please go do. Please go do so. If you like the books that I read or have similar tastes to me, I think you'll really like her stuff as well, because she and I are basically book twins. As I'm currently reading this one, you're going to be seeing updates in the vlogs, the forthcoming vlogs on my channel. It is a chonker. It is like almost 900 pages, I believe, or like 850-ish. So we're going to take our time with the buddy read, but I definitely plan to finish it by the end of June. The next book is a library book from my physical library here, and it all hinges on whether I can extend my hold on this book, whether I'll be able to get to it, but that is The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin. I want to finish this trilogy so bad. I even looked up synopses videos for the first 2 books because I feel like I read one of these a year, and details really matter in this world. So I wanted to make sure that I was, doing my due diligence by looking up some things I might have forgotten. And I am prepped and ready. I'm all caught up. I just need to pick this up. So this book is due, I think, in like 2 days. So I'm definitely not going to get to it by then, but if I can extend my hold, this is one that I'll definitely be getting to. Similarly, also from the library, is the Inugami Curse by Yokomizo Seishi. I read The Honjin Murders by him and thoroughly enjoyed myself. This is a translated work. This is basically the Japanese Sherlock Holmes. We follow a detective who's called in when things get weird, and he solves murders and mysteries based on small details that are at the scene. So if you like Sherlock Holmes, if you like those vibes, you'll probably really enjoy these. Well, I've only read one thus far, The Honjin Murders, but I thoroughly enjoyed myself. And my library here in Japan has basically the whole translated collection. So I plan to work my way through them. I love the covers, and if I like enough of the series, I plan to, add them to my collection physically, for posterity, but I'd like to read a couple of them first. So the Inugami Curse is the next one on my list. Now next, as always, with my TBRs, we have a couple placeholders, one of them being SPFBOX or SPFBO 10. I am yet again a judge. I've been a judge for SPFBO 8 and SPFBO 9 now, and I'm continuing on to SPFBO 10 as part of the Before We Go blog team. So now I'm going to have just a running SPFBO spot on all of my TBRs. So I haven't decided exactly which one I'll be picking up from our slush pile, but I've signed up for 6 or 7 of them. So I'll be picking one of the ones that I signed up for June. The next placeholder here is the Only Good Book Club. It's the private book club that I'm a part of. We don't do lives. I don't do any kind of content with them on the channel, but I do talk about the books that we read. So there's always a slot, again, like a standing slot for the book that we pick, and we haven't picked it yet. So that'll be a nice surprise when I do my wrap up. These next 3 are all ones that I want to pick up specifically via audio because I think the audiobook experience in these particular cases is above the physical reading experience, which is something that I don't usually say. The first one is going to be continuing on with the First Law world with Best Served Cold. I finished the First Law trilogy last month, yes, in May. And the audiobooks just truly are the way to go with this series. Pacey is such an incredible narrator. Something about the way that he speaks and brings all of these characters to life just adds a dimension to the story that reading it physically didn't do for me. So I'll definitely be continuing on with the audiobook in that case. And also, I'd like to continue the Singing Hills cycle, which I read the first 2, which is Empress of Salt and Fortune and, is it Tigers at the Gates? No, Mammoth at the Gates is the one I want to read. Oh, When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain? No, I think that's a middle grade book. But I adored both of those novellas by Nevo. And I also consumed those via audiobook. And I think the narrator's voice is just so soft and silky. And again, just adds this whole new dimension. And while I do want to collect these physically in the future because I've loved the first two so far, I'd like to continue the series. And I was like dancing around my house when I realized that my library had them. So I've already put a hold on those, and I'm definitely going to be listening to those 3 books at some point throughout June. Now for the last couple books on this TBR, I want to focus on 2 things. One being finishing series, which is a goal that I had for myself in 2024. I made a video early in the year about the fact that I had 57 open series at the beginning of the year, and I cut that number of series in half by making a video saying which ones I would not be continuing, and then naturally I'll be continuing the other half. And then the other thing that I'd like to focus on is reading my physical books that I have here. So I'd like to kill 2 birds with 1 stone where I can, which means I've got a couple physical books that I would like to read to finish out some series. The first one here being Locklands by Robert Jackson Bennett. I love Shorefall. I yell about it not as frequently as I used to, but I need to more on my channel as one that I think doesn't get enough love. The sequel, Shorefall, was also really good, though not quite as much of a baby to me as Foundryside is, but I still very much want to finish the series. I think Bennett is very good at addressing and taking on big moral issues with really interesting world building. So I can't wait to see how he brings this to a close. We're dealing with like gods, questions about higher powers, all connected with this really interesting magic system, which is like a coding magic system, where if you learn the language, you can write the language on an object and make the object believe that reality is different than what it is. So the example I usually give is you can use this magic on a wheel to make the wheel think that it's going downhill when it actually isn't, but that makes the wheel continue to turn on its own. But that has implications. You're changing the perception of reality of objects in theory. But what about humans? Like, there's a lot of implications to having a magic system like this, and Bennett really explores those things. So I can't wait to see, like I said, how he concludes the series. So Locklands is definitely on my radar. And I'm kind of viewing this as an either-or situation because both of these books are kind of big brain books, so I might pick just one of the 2 to read for the month. But the second option is Children of Memory. I have the first 2, Children of Time and Children of Ruin. Children of Time is one of my favorite books of all time. I adore this book. It's one of the only books that showed me or convinced me that I don't need to be as afraid of spiders as I am. Kind of made me realize how cool at least certain types of spiders are. And then we have Children of Ruin, which I also really enjoyed, not quite as much as the first one, but it still gripped me. So I can't wait to see what he does with Children of Memory, again, concluding the trilogy. I don't know anything about this book. I don't know what concepts he's tackling here. I don't really know the vibes. But I loved the first 2 books so much that I'm in. I'm in for whatever Tchaikovsky decides to do. Now we've got one more and/or situation because I've been loving short fiction and short stories recently. I just cannot get enough of them. So I want to give myself 2 options in that realm as well. The first one is, of course, The Paper Menagerie by Ken Liu. I'm in my new setup and I keep holding the book up to the side that I usually would hold it up. And I need to be holding it on this side now. I'm still getting used to this new place, new lighting and all of that. So just bear with me if I'm like playing hot potato with my books because I don't know what way to hold it. But I'm honestly so incredibly surprised I haven't read The Paper Menagerie yet with how much I love Ken Liu. I did listen to the first story on audio. I think I've talked about this before on my channel, but I realized after listening to it, I was like, this is too big brain for me to be listening to. I need to be focused and reading this physically. So well, I guess that's the reason I haven't read it yet. But I love Ken Liu so much. I can't wait to dive into this, but it is a bit bigger, so it depends on how I'm doing with my other reads for the month if I'm going to pick this one up because it's a collection of short stories, or this book that I completely picked up on a whim 2 times ago when I was in the States. Yeah, I was just browsing around the bookstore and I don't know why this called to me, but it did. It's called Yesterday, and it is translated from where? From Chile. So I haven't read anything from that culture before. So I'm interested to see, well, I think this is a really weird book, so I don't know if this is a good example of, you know, some tropes that exist in that culture or anything like that, but it just sounds so weird, so strange. I don't even know what to think of it, and I bought it already. I'll just read a little bit of the blurb since I don't know how to explain it clearly. It says, taking place over a single day, yesterday tells the story of a man and his wife wandering the streets of their city, killing time, and what diversions they find. In the public square, a man is guillotined for the crime of preaching the intellectual pleasures of sex. In the city's zoo, an ostrich swallows a marauding lion whole. In a restaurant bathroom, the narrator bungee jumps through time itself and manages to escape. Or does he? What? Sounds like a fever dream. I know. I'm into it. I want to read it. So it's very small and short. So I plan to either pick up this one or this one, depending on where my reading is at that time. And finally, the final slot here, as always, is my TBR Prompt Jar. I have not been the best at filling in the prompts, but I did fill in one which was read a book that you bought just for the cover. And that was a really interesting reading experience. It had me pick up Between the Lines, which is a book that I never would have picked up otherwise. So I would like to continue with the prompt jar, even though I haven't really proven that I'm good at it yet. Practice makes perfect, right? So I'm gonna pull one of these prompts out. And let's see what it says. Manga or a graphic novel. Oh, I love that. If it will focus. Well, it's kind of focusing. Almost all of my manga that I own here is in Japanese, so it takes me a little bit longer to read than it would if it was in English, but I think that's a great studying exercise for me anyway. And I've been wanting to reread Hanakimi. I also have the second installment of Monster here to read, so I probably will read one of those. Very disparate, different stories. That's it for my TBR for June. I know it's a lot, but I am in a voracious reading mood. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. I assume that you do because you're watching a booktube channel. But sometimes you just get in these moods where if you're not reading, you desperately want to be. You just want your eyes to be on a page, and that's how I feel right now. So I want to take advantage of that. I know it's a lot of books. We'll see what I get to. We'll see what I do. Let me know in the comments down below what you plan to read for June. Are you going to read any of these books? I would love to chat with you guys down in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that bell. I'd love to have you as part of this community, and I appreciate it. But for now, I'm going to head out. Jenny!